Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Wes with Pikes Peak Trades. Really excited to give you this market video update. Finishing trading June 16th, 2023. And if the intro music caught your attention, I think we're in for possibly some of the best short-term shorting setups that I've seen in a while. So I think we've got a confluence of evidence here that's going to suggest that we're ready to pull back, that markets have had this really incredible extension. You're going to see the internals of what I do. Some three waves that I think have reached a point where we need to rest a little bit. And I'm going to show you just how accurate it's been in what I've charted, especially if you followed me for a long time. And then show you where I think we're going to pull back. So I think it's possible that we get a week, maybe even it spills into 2 weeks worth of weakness in the markets. And I'm going to show you some really great opportunities, I think, where I think the easy money to the upside, at least in this initial part of the bullish impulse, has been made. And I think there's going to be opportunities for shorting coming up here. Okay, now I'm not going to take you through my long-term thesis and give you all that weight of evidence justification because I've already done that. I've been doing that for months. We will look at monthly charts and weekly charts, and we're going to see monthly QQQ here just in awesome shape. I mean, how could you say that this is bearish by any stretch of the imagination? Get into the weekly chart here. And this is kind of the pattern that I'm going to be projecting into early 2024. I think we're pretty overcooked here. We've got a weekly RSI almost at 86. That's up here kind of in the nosebleed territory. Really haven't even gone higher than that in the topping stages of the QQQ all-time high. So I think we're due for a sizable pullback in QQQ and also in the Nasdaq. But I don't think this is going to be the completion of this bullish impulse. I think we still have work to do for the rest of this year. I'm not projecting anything more than a retest of about 350. So this key gapping area from April of last year that was closed, this coincides really nicely with the minute 4 degree fib zone. And then I think we've got more work to do in the rest of 2023, up and then down one more time. And then I'm projecting that we challenge all-time highs, maybe late this year, maybe early 2024, complete this beautiful looking cup. And then we get a sizable pullback here to make the handle, that classic TA pattern. So I'm projecting that to occur sometime maybe a year from now, early to mid 2024. Maybe there's some election uncertainty. I'm not the macro guy. I don't try to put these puzzle pieces together. My specialty is in market pattern and structure, but I do think that could time up with maybe some political events going into 2024. Okay, we look at, let's go right into our NASDAQ composite, because I think Qs and the Nasdaq here are the ones that have the most meat on the table, so to speak, for shorting. That is a pretty suspect daily candle here on the Nasdaq. And the big names in tech, they typically respect those daily reversal candles. And you're going to see that on Apple and Microsoft here in a bit. So I have us ticking right in here to this 1.382 level for wave minute 3. I don't think we challenge 14,000 in this next gapping area on this immediate move. I think a healthy pullback here to the low 13,000s, that we probably just need to reconnect with the sharply rising 21 and 8 EMAs before we get the rest of the pattern that I showed you on Qs, that minor 3, 4 resting into the fall, and then probably a really pretty furious rally on the Qs back towards all-time highs. Okay, let me get you now into the S&P. So again, on the monthly, what a beautiful looking monthly candle, up 5.5%. I don't think it finishes June up quite that high. On to the weekly. Now, I don't have SPX here in the same degree as the Qs, because I think this part of the move into minute 3 isn't done yet. This is the fib zone that would correspond to that, but that puts it into a potential count breaking area. We don't want to see 41.95 lost here before the rest of this pattern plays out. And so that's why when I show you here SPX on the daily, let me make sure I'm going to get to that. We'll get back to the Q Daily in a bit. Sorry for that brief delay on getting that chart to load. We're going to see SPX. I've got it in a different degree here of wave 3. Okay, now, again, a suspect daily candle. It had poked above the upper BB, and then we closed back within it. And I just see us going back maybe to the low to mid 4300s, right in here to reconnect with that 21 and 8-day EMA. The count violation for this would occur at the top of this wave 1, which is at 4212. And I had kind of a different potential count there in SPY. But I'm going to talk about SPY in here in a bit because it went ex-dividend on Friday, which means its short-term structure in my mind isn't as accurate. So I'm not calling for anything huge as far as a pullback. But when you look at this like nearly vertical parabolic move, these don't sustain. And so we will pull back. And I thought we were going to maybe have that top end Thursday. Looks like I missed it by 1 day, but I think we will see weakness coming up here next week. I had skipped that Q Daily. Let me get you back so you can see that zone again right here. I don't think this deeper 0.382 is going to happen, although it could. I want to leave that there to possibly test those August 22 highs, but right in here, that 350 target area for this wave, I think seems pretty ripe in here. Okay, so now let me get you into the small time frames so you can see what am I looking at immediately here into the week. And this, I want to talk about Friday also from a trading perspective because I think the SPX on the opening spike after that initial move down, I had shorted it right away, had a gainer in here, but thought we were going to get extension immediately. And it didn't happen. And after that, the majority of the rest of the day was pretty hard to trade. There was not a trending move until right up into the closing hours. And I think this was a pretty tricky looking running flat. So from this move, we see 3 up into here, 3 down into here, and then 5 up into here. And when I stepped away from this chop and looked at it later in the session on Friday, realized I think we're ready to start trending down. So we caught some really great shorts to finish the day at the PPT Discord. Now, where are we at? And I'm going to show you some different possibilities through some of the ETFs and individual names. I think we see weakness immediately Tuesday. So do we tumble this far? Well, I don't know where, but it's possible that we see a retest here of the Wednesday high, about 43.91. So we're going to be looking right down into this area to set this first. Then I think we bounce, and I think that's going to be a theme. You're going to see that consistently on these short-term charts. Probably get a temporarily oversold bounce into Wednesday, and then I think the rest of the week we could be looking here. And if you just see potential left shoulder, head, this bounce making the right shoulder, I think there's going to be a juicy short setup to finish the week. Into Qs, got a little more detail on here. And we had taken a really nice short on the Qs and traded it in through the close at PPT. I think some immediate weakness set this low right down here in some oversold RSI territory, get a short bounce, and then we finish Tuesday. I could see being pretty red, and then we bounce, and here's that left shoulder, that head, and then that top possibly into Wednesday, and then another leg down to finish right in that 350 area is kind of where I'm projecting. Okay, so we will get into these individual names, but I do want to take you through the other indices here so you can see how things are stacking up. Weight of evidence approach. XLF financials, key to the market, right into a key resistance area on EMAs. Couldn't crack 34 on repeated tries, and I think XLF on its internals, I think it just needs a small degree way forward, just like SPX. So I'm not calling for anything huge. I think this is one of the things that's going to maybe set the selling difference apart from SPX and QQQ. I think QQQ and the NAS quite extended. I don't think small caps industrials and financials pull back quite as much. So I think the SPX pullback is less. Maybe also some rotational defensive movements into staples, into utilities, into healthcare that might cause SPX not to pull down. But again, these EMAs, you're going to see that consistently. The 21 and the 8, just something right back to around 33. And you'll see that again. Now, I've put that head and shoulder top. You'll see it on DIA here. I think this is just a beautiful projected pattern. We get weakness Tuesday. We set a 5 down. We bounce into Wednesday, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. That's just classic. Not everything I do here is EW. I just use EW to quantify. I'm really just a classic market technician. That's the pattern that I'm looking for into this coming week. You'll see it again here on DIA. Its weekly is in healthy shape, but I don't think it's going to immediately break that key upper 340s area. I think it pulls back, and DIA, another suspect daily candle. That's really a theme from Friday. I think just pulls back to retest mid to upper 330s before later this summer we get a massive 3 of 3 break on DIA. And here is that classic, I think, setting up short-term topping pattern. Down, bounce down. We finish Tuesday red, weak choppy bounce Wednesday, and then a very shortable move is what I'm projecting market-wide to finish the week. Okay, getting through the rest of what I wanted to show you here, let's take a look at small caps. So IWM, kind of a suspect weekly candle. Looks like potentially a shooting star. We get into the daily. Again, very similar to XLF. Wave 4. Pullback, just challenged that low 180s level before I think we could get some huge outperformance in small caps the rest of the summer. Here's that pattern. Okay, now let's remember that IWM had topped earlier in the week on Wednesday and already set that lower high pattern. I think it's possible small caps here actually bottom quicker during the week. That's one thing I really want to keep a look at. And I think we're looking here at a double zigzag, so a 3-wave down and then an X move that had some choppy mess that unfortunately I kind of wasted a few trades trying to figure that out. And then I think an ABC down. Now, that doesn't preclude an opening bounce, possibly a 1, 2, 3 back up into this congestion below 187 to then get that move down. But I think if we open flat to weak, you've got some great short potential here at 186.31 on that projected B wave high to try to catch that C leg down. Okay, now, if there's an area that I might be wrong, where this might not work together, is in ARKK. But, ARKK has had 7 consecutive weeks that it's gone up nicely green, right into a key 45 pivot area. And I think, like DIA, I think it needs a 1-2 pullback. Now, whether all of 5 of minute 1 is done, that's kind of the question. But again, we've got some suspect daily candles out there and in individual names as well. And I think that this just fits the market thesis, that we're just going to see growth pullback. I'm going to show you some key growth names that I think are ready for a nice pullback. And so I think that fits best in the weight of evidence approach here on ARKK, that we will see kind of just some downtrending, sustained weakness through the duration of this coming week, starting Tuesday. Okay, now, individual names. Certainly want to get you into those individual names, and we should start with big tech. So let's start with, if I'm projecting here, some of these big tech names to be moving down, we've got to start with the big boys, and it is Apple and Microsoft. They tend to respect daily bearish reversal candles, and we've got that in Apple. And so I'm projecting here kind of a weak attempt at that new all-time high that needs to pull back. So I think we could see, if we're going to get the Qs and the NAS to pull back more, this is where it's going to happen, right here into Apple. And then I'll kind of show you the small time frame charts as well as we go. And I think we've just got some great setups here. So Apple, if it bounces early Tuesday below 186.14, there is meat on the bone to short this one. I don't know. I don't remember the last time I would have ever recommended anyone shorting Apple. I mean, I know that there were Uber bears gathering shorts on Apples from like the 160s, and bears that have been early have just been carried out here in body bags. And here I am, the guy that called the bear market bottom and said, in January, we've got some breadth thrust. We're going up. And then in March, I said, we didn't close this quarter bearishly. We're going up. And here I am now telling you guys to be ready to short. Well, I just think the weight of evidence is there. And so there it is on Apple. You bounce and stay below 186.14. I think there is meat on the bone here. And possibly just because of the extension level of a name like Apple or Microsoft, I'll show you NVIDIA, this could be a more sustained. Maybe it's a 7 to 10 day downturn here. Is it speculative? Absolutely speculative. But when the weight of evidence says that we can start looking and we start to get that Friday reversal, this is what gets me excited. It doesn't happen very often. This gets me excited here, at least in 2023, for some pretty good downside action. Okay, we should get into Microsoft. So I want to show you that. Here we've got Microsoft. Should have had these booted up here a little bit earlier. Sorry about that. And again, I think a name that respects bearish daily candles. We can see that here. We can see that here. We can see that. Is it here again? And I think so. That minor 3 is in, and we're going to see Microsoft down maybe 315, 312, 315, 320 on this move. And let's take a look at what that short-term chart is setting up for. I think juicy. So further along in its downside move, and I used Microsoft here in my PPT group as justification. I said, listen, guys, I think it's setting up nested. Let's get short. And we did. Had some plus 100% bangers to finish the day. Maybe a weak bounce and then continuation. And we'll just have to see. Is it like Apple? Does it continue to progress with weakness more than 1 week? You know, that's speculative right now. But I do think it's setting up for more downside. Okay, another one we should talk about. We should talk about Tesla. And again, early bears here on Tesla have just been wrecked. And are we finally ready for it to pull back? And I think so. But of what degree is the question. And so I'll show you that. And again, I'm not calling. Oops, somehow my wave labeling got a little bit wonky. I need this to go here. Try to fix that real briefly for you. And this to go here. So what I'm calling for here is a potential shooting star top, and we get that down into, I've got to update that fib zone because it did set a final spike high. Sorry for that. Spent a lot of time on prep, but this is one that didn't hold the reset. I think this gap fills right here. So the June 9th gap, that's my target area for moving down on Tesla. And then let me get that into the short term. There we go. So what are we looking at? I think meat on the bone. So this bounces and this high doesn't break. A 1, 2, 3 down. I think the opportunities are there. You're going to see again, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, a Wednesday bounce. And then I think possibly a really great active short right down in here to close that June 9th gap. Okay, now some in here not quite so sure about are Amazon and GOOG. And Amazon and GOOG, I mean, just you should have stayed away for the last 2 weeks. What choppy mess. I think that resolves to the downside. So I think this minute 3 is done. Here are the projections I've got for Amazon. I don't think the short setups there look quite as juicy as Microsoft, Apple, Tesla. GOOG, I think this blue count is actually my primary. Haven't switched the colors, but I think this is a minute 3 into an A. This looks impulsive. This looks messy down into a C, and that just matches, again, market wide. Okay, everyone is always wanting to ask about a name like NVIDIA, so let me get to where that is here. And you know what? If you follow me on Twitter, you saw my SMH chart update. I think semis are ready to pull back hard, just like QQQ and the NAS. Did we get divergence here of a topping full 5 level on NVIDIA? And this is kind of what I would be concerned about, that it just needs to go back and retest its previous all-time high. So does it just need a primary wave 2 earnings gap retest? You know, again, trying to short a name like this has been like trying to pick up pennies in front of a train. It's just been really kind of a death warrant for your account. If what I'm seeing here market-wide is correct, I think this is finally the opportunity of exhaustion that we might have just seen here to finish this week in June. So that's what I'm looking at, and I can show you how that matches up here with SMH. This would suggest Adobe pulls back, Broadcom pulls back, that TSM pulls back, AMD pulls back right into here. So I'm expecting a testing level. I don't think this bull progression is done, I'm just projecting here on that week daily candle right into that previous all-time high potential supply area that we pull back and maybe retest here the lows before some of those big gapping moves. Okay, I don't think does it go back to close this, the NVIDIA earnings gap? I don't think so. I don't think it goes back that far. This count would be violated if this minor one, if 128 is lost, that's when this is violated. I don't think we go quite that low. Could it pull that gap from late May? Yes, right down in here below 140. I think is possible. Okay, other individual names that I know you're going to want to be curious about. Where do we stand on Netflix? I think Netflix, like the SMH count, although obviously not a semiconductor name, same degree, 3 into a 4. There's my projection just to meet up again, work off some fluff, meet up again with those rising MAs. Want to show you AMD. Make sure I've got that. Here we go. Right here. Let's get Adobe as well. 3 into a 4. That fits my SMH projection. AMD onto the daily. So you're going to see the same. Minor 3 into a 4. I think this is going to probably turn into an expanded flat pattern. AMD likes to put in alternating patterns. Short, quick, zigzag. Long, expanded flat. So maybe down here, 113. Possible on AMD. Okay, then we get into, let's just take a look at a name popping up right here like Disney, just one that's been requested in my group a bit. I think an ABC down. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down and a 3-wave bounce. And when I get here into the rest of growth, you're going to see that as a consistent theme. I think Disney is a C leg down right back into here. I don't think Disney breaks out immediately on this potential inverse head and shoulder. Left shoulder, head. I don't think the right shoulder is done. Okay, so now let's get into those growth names. And there's some count adjustments here. For those that are following me in the PPP Discord, we had played both Zoom and Square bullishly with a lot of winners in it this week. I think they're both ready to pull back again. And so for Square, kind of a suspect doji candle. And I think all of this minute wave 1 is done. If I'm wrong, again, I said I'd be wrong in ARKK names like Square. This is one where I could be wrong. But I think what we saw here, and this is like what I just showed you on Disney. And if I get into the 5 minute, you're going to see this pretty clearly that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down into a 2 bounce, and I think we're just working on the rest of this leg down. So I'm projecting here weakness in a name like Square. It's got that potential double topping area. You're going to see that in Zoom here in a bit. The purple count is there if I'm wrong, okay? And I think the weight of evidence is suggesting I would probably give myself 4 to 1, 3 to 1 in favor of the weight of evidence. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be wrong in growth. And this is a 1-2 nest, 1-2. And so if I'm wrong, I'm probably going to be really wrong. And we're just going to see a massive blow-off type move here into this week. But below this potential double top, 67.50, I think we can be looking short in a name like Square. Okay, ROKU. It topped early in the week. It didn't top on Friday. And I think leading some weakness down, a 1-2, 1-2. That would suck it all the way down. And I think a name like ROKU, this is one, again, I said that I think there's some juicy shorts. Look at ROKU. Did this set a 5-wave A into a B bounce, into a bearish fib, into a 1-2? We fail here under 72. I think you look at a name like ROKU. I'd put that on the list with Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. Put ROKU up here as a name for active shorting I think we just couldn't quite break this out. And I think market-wide now we need a rest. Name like Shop. So kind of like what I showed you, some minor 3, minor 4, like Netflix, like AMD. So are we kind of tired in here? Look at this RSI daily divergence into a 3 fib area. Could it pop? Certainly could. And then we get that minor 4. But I think this is a bearish engulfing candle here. Pretty suspect that this is going to put it down into that area here from early June and then into Zoom. And I think I'd had the internals incorrect on Zoom. There's just a lot of congestion here around $70. I have this as an ABC down into Zoom. The continuation count that I've been charting for my group, I just don't think it's there with this overlapping move down into midday Friday. And another name, if we open down to flat, you have great risk reward here against this $70.33 area to try to catch this as an A into a choppy B into a final C leg. Okay, so lots of good looks there on individual names. Want to just briefly take you through crypto, and then we'll finish with a look at GDX. So briefly here into crypto, where are we at? Yeah, we want to look at ETH. So I had said here in the middle of the week, I said, look, we got a 200 SMA hit. We put in a bottoming candle, and that gets my attention. Now a potential shooting star daily topping candle into a higher low attempt, and that's when I would really get interested in adding ETH long. Very, very clear stop level on Thursday's low at 1622, but I think a 1-2 coming up, and I'm going to show you the same thing on Bitcoin. So I think a minor 2 in, but I think a 1-2, and here's your risk level again. It's just simply the weekly low right there. So 1-2 beneath that 50-day SMA. We pull back into here, start challenging that bull flag again, and then we move off. XRP, thought it had a breakout attempt above 55. No. Market said no. I'm still bullish XRP as long as this low holds at about 41 cents for a 1-2-1-2 nest. The real key breakout area, again, isn't until about 55 cents. But if that does break, you could see a 50% plus run move pretty quickly. Okay, want to finish now with GDX. So this is an area, again, like I said with ARKK, I might be wrong. I might be wrong here in metals and miners, but is this just some basing here in a nested 1-2 with the key breakout area at 32? That's where my money is right now because I am long in UGT. Possible. Got a daily bull flag here waiting for that breakout. I entered a little early. I kind of took some heat. I'm down a little bit on that position because I thought the 0.618 fib would hold. I thought that would hold right in here, but we had one more leg down. But now that bull flag, do we have a break? We have a test. So maybe this week, maybe we see some rotational money move. If there's a general pullback in the general indices, do we see crypto get some money? Do we see gold, silver? Do we see miners get some money? And that's kind of what this count is projecting. I've shown you I'm pretty bearish market wide. This would be kind of the bullish contrarian piece that I might be looking at for this week. Okay, so that's everything here that I wanted to show you. I'm going to go ahead and leave you here with that SPX short-term count. Let me actually just leave it with the Qs because I think there's a little more meat on the bone. For what I'm thinking here, I think is the potential. You know, bears have been screaming for tops for months. And I've been screaming that we're going up for months. And so when the technician that's been getting it right is now calling for a pullback, let's see what happens. I'm really excited to see if this next move is going to play out again. I'm not calling for the sky to fall. I'm not calling for the end of the financial world, unlike many others out there who've been very wrong this year have been calling for. But I do think we need to work off some fluff. Okay, so what I hope is that the video gave you some weight of evidence from some multiple time frames, multiple names. Hope I gave you some really active charts for you to look at. And if you want continuous day-to-day updates throughout the day, post-close, pre-market plans, come join our Discord. So I've got that in the bio description of this video. It's in my bio on Twitter. Had it in the video intro. Come join while you can. Get in there and start learning and get those continuous updates. I think we've got a really fun week coming up. I always think it's fun, but this is kind of the week where I'm like, do we finally get to play ball here a little bit on Team Bear here in the very short term? So have a wonderful weekend. Remember, Monday markets are closed for Juneteenth, and we come back Tuesday. Going to be an interesting open for futures and Tuesday pre-market. As always, really enjoy doing this for you. This is Wes from PPT, and I'll check in again with you early this coming trading week. Bye-bye.